Hi, today I'm demoing this Henriksen BLU acoustic guitar amp. You probably notice I'm not holding an acoustic guitar. It's because these are really good jazz amps as well. So if you want a clean electric guitar sound, or even a sound with using pedals and using effects, these work really well for that. But they're designed, well, primarily I think they're designed to be a cheaper single channel version of Henriksen Bud, which is a great little amp for both acoustic playing and for jazz playing. And this is very similar. It's a single channel. It's still 120 watts, unbelievably, and it is loud. I think they say it weighs 12 pounds and it is light as anything. There's just nothing to it really, although it does feel solid. You know, it feels really well built. Henriksen are an American company. I think they're based in Colorado. Been around, I think, for about 15 years or so. And the Bud is there's a well-known amp. But this is very similar, just single channel, whereas the Bud's got two channels, so you can plug a mic in. You can't do that with this. This is really just for one guitar. And this has also got Bluetooth capabilities, which you can switch on and off. And you can also switch the tweeter off, which I think the idea of that is that when you're using an electric guitar, you'd switch the tweeter off, but for an acoustic, if you're using it as an acoustic amp, you put the tweeter back on. There's just a little switch on the back. Simple sort of layout. It's got a cool light on the front, volume, and then the EQ. There's quite a good EQ on this. You've got low, mid, high, presence, and then you've got the reverb on the end. It's a really nice reverb on this amp, not too over the top like you get on a lot of amps. Very usable reverb. Yeah, great little amps. And anyway, so I'm going to plug the electric in first. So do it the wrong way around and let you hear it as a kind of a jazz sort of sounding amp. So I'm plugged in. To begin with, I've set the EQ just where I quite like it with this guitar. So I haven't played around with this amp very much, but it's quite easy to sort of get the sound you want. So I've just had a quick fiddle with the controls and I've set them where I want it for this. I've got the low quite high, the low mid and the high mid on sort of about 2/3. The low's on about 3/4. High is about halfway up and the presence is just over halfway, and I've got a little bit of reverb on there. And on the guitar I'm just on the neck pickup, tone on about 7, volume on about 9. Okay. Now, just for comparison, I'll put the EQ all flat. I'll leave the volume the same. The volume at the moment on the amp is about 1/3 of the way up. It's quite loud in the room. So all the EQ flat. I'll turn the reverb off. And I've got the tweeter switched off. I'll boost the individual controls, I'll cut them and then boost them. So I'll play and I'll turn the low all the way down, back to the middle, then all the way up, and I'll do the same with each of the other controls. And back to the middle. So that was bass, low mid, high, and presence. The EQ on this amp is amazing. It's one of the best EQs I've ever seen on a combo. Okay, so now I'll leave it EQ all flat. I'll just demonstrate the reverb. So it's off, and I'll gradually increase it. Full. That's way more than any jazz guitarist is ever going to want. I'll put the reverb back on to about a third. Bass up a little bit. Both the mids up a little bit from the middle. I'll leave the high where in the middle, and I'll put the presence up a little bit from the middle. Leave everything the same, and I'll just quickly go onto the bridge pickup with the tone and volume on full. Left the amp set the same. Okay, now I'm going to grab the Electro Acoustic and I'll do the same kind of thing with that guitar. I'm going to put the tweeter back on and I'll run through the controls in exactly the same way. Right, so I've got the Electro Acoustic now, and I'm going to put the EQ all flat and the reverb off. And I've switched the tweeter back on. The volume is on. I've turned the volume down a little bit. It's on about a quarter volume. So obviously this guitar's much higher output than the last one. mids down a bit, the low up a little bit, and I'll leave the high in the middle. I'll put the presence up a little bit. Keep the reverb off. And now I'm going to put the presence back in the middle and boost both of the mids, which isn't something I'd normally do with an acoustic, but let's just see what it sounds like. Okay, still sounds quite good. I'll try with the finger picking, leaving the settings the same. Okay, now I'm going to leave the low mid where I've just set it on about 2/3. I'm going to put the high mid all the way off and leave everything else the same. You hear the difference. So that high mid control makes a huge difference. I'm just going to take that one control and just show you the variation you get with that. I'm going to gradually move that one up. So to my ears, you don't want much of that at all with an acoustic guitar. I'm just going to put it on probably about 1. If it was, there aren't any numbers on here, but if it went up to 10, this would be about 1. I'll put the low mid all the way off. Bring the low mid back to about 1/3. So that's the Henriksen BLU, simpler version of the Bud. quite a lot cheaper. I mean, they're not cheap, but they're a lot cheaper than the Bud. Brilliant amp, 120 watts, weighs next to nothing. You just pick it up, it feels very solid, but very well made, but pretty light. Comes in its own little padded gig bag. So yeah, highly recommended. Okay, thanks.